with most of our presenters. Oh, I see Trevor Palmer and Amy Hardy. I think
That's
that gives
6. We're so close.
I think that gives us 7.
We have
Yeah.
7?
Yeah, I got 7.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
All right, if we have 7, then let's go.
Okay, so let's do a quick roll call of members. I'm happy to run through that. And then Jeff, could you do visitors and staff?
I will, yes.
Okay. David Nightingale is not with us today. Greg Schoenbachler is. Greg. Gary Edwards.
He's been excused from this meeting.
Thank you. Amy Evans Harding.
Nice to see you.
There we go.
Hi, thanks for joining us. Lisa Partially. I've not seen Lisa. Nicholas Dunning. I think I heard that Nick was with us. Awesome. Joan Cathy.
Present.
Hi, Joan.
Hi.
Trevor Palmer.
Present.
Awesome. Elaine Clam. I think I saw Elaine.
Present.
Kirsten Presley. I am here, and Chad Sutter. And Aaron Robertson. I saw Aaron. Christina Kulberg.
Here.
Awesome. And that's it for members, and we do have a quorum. So Jeff, if you could introduce staff and visitors.
Sure.
Sorry, Renee, Jeff, sorry, I Bluetooth cut out there, but I'm here, so you guys know that already, but I didn't hear you call my name, sorry.
No worries. You were early on in the list, and thanks for chiming in.
Yep, I'm in now.
I will start with our illustrious leader, Jennifer Walker. And then let's see, I think I'm gonna go in the room, the conference room there. We have Laura Glover.
Hi.
I think I have everybody here. It's hard for me to see everybody. I think I saw Maggie Brown,
Hello.
Education Outreach. April Rowe, I believe I saw on there.
Hello.
Hope Springer.
Hi.
And to round out our Education Outreach staff, Rob Putner.
Good morning.
The Education Outreach Supervisor, I saw him as Scott Keith.
Hey, morning.
Yes. Let's see. Is there anybody else in the room over that where you're at, Laura, that I'm not aware of, that I missed?
We also have Angela and our new hire, Tony. Hi.
Yes, I'll point that out. So Tony Basinger, she just began with us yesterday. She is our new senior office assistant. There'll be her primary pieces will be assisting with the solid waste division. So we're excited to have her here at this meeting on day 2. So she will be attending these meetings and eventually will be taking minutes. Let's see, who else do we have here? I think this up from, oh, wait a second, I'm going down the list. Barinka Major.
Hello.
Let's see, from Public Health, let's see, I saw Kylie Graber. Okay, going down here. See, is that it? Oh, from our master recycler composter specialists. Where did she go?
I'm here. Hello, I'm Corey.
There we go. This list keeps bouncing and moving on me, so I saw it and all of a sudden it went away. There's Corey Carlton. From the city of Olympia, Gary Franks. And additionally from the city of Olympia, Ron Jones.
Yeah, thank you.
Jennifer Johnson, also from, I believe, Public Health and Social Services.
Good morning.
Let's see. Jane Appling, I am not familiar with. Is that you? Are you a public? Jane Appling?
Yeah, I'm here to watch.
Okay. Then we have from Republic Services, I saw Steve Gilmore.
Good morning.
And Jim Hutchinson.
Good morning, all.
There we go. Let's see. Is there anybody that I have missed? Okay, good.
Thanks, Jeff. We do have a quorum, so we can take care of some business this morning. The first thing is we need to approve our agenda. Jessica has a question?
Does this work? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hello, I was just going to introduce myself real quick. I just started with the Environmental Health Department as an Education and Outreach Specialist 1. So this is week 2 for me. So hello, everyone.
Okay, welcome, Jessica.
Thank you.
Has everyone had a chance to look at today's agenda? And if so, could I get a motion to approve it?
I so move.
Thanks, Elaine. And a second?
Second.
I'm not sure who that was.
It's Nick.
Oh, Nick, thank you. And all in favor of approving today's agenda, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, the agenda is approved. We need to take a look at the minutes from our June 5th meeting. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at those?
Yes.
And if so, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I so move.
Thanks, Elaine.
Second.
And we have a second. Thank you so much from Trevor. And all those in favor of approving the minutes from June 5th, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, the minutes for June 5th have been approved. And now we're looking at the minutes from our meeting of August 7th. If you've had a chance to take a look at those, we're looking for a motion to approve.
I so move.
Thanks, Elaine. And do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Trevor. And all those in favor of approving the minutes from our August 7th meeting, please say aye.
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 Thank you. All opposed, please say nay. And our minutes from August 7th are approved. Do we have any public comments today?
Don't believe we do, not in this room.
Okay, we will then move right on to new business. We have a lot of presentations today, so I'm excited. And before we get started, I know that our chair, David, sent a number of questions, and I hope staff has gotten a chance to look at those and will respond to him. Jeff, yes.
Yeah, before we start with our presentations from the Education Outreach Group, I just want to let everybody know, first off, just as a fond farewell, Scott Keith, this is his last week with us as our Education Outreach Supervisor. He is moving on to, I don't know if it's greener pastures, but over at JPLM, so he's moving on to try out a new challenge. So our waste reduction, education outreach folks that that are in attendance, that primarily work in our waste reduction education, are actually now moving and reporting directly to Amanda Romero, who you're all familiar with. So just wanted you to be aware of that. So as they'll continue to work with Ray, will look to, I believe, to rehire this position, but we're going to be just a change in the organization a little bit, a little restructuring, rethinking of how we're looking at things and efficiencies, et cetera. So just so you're aware, those folks will now be working with Amanda, and Amanda's not able to make it with us today, but anyway, just wanted you to be aware of that, and to formally wish Scott good luck in his new adventure. So I know with that, I'm going to let Scott take it away.
Thanks for that update, Jeff, and congrats on the new gig, Scott.
Oh, thanks so much. It was a lot of fun. I feel like I learned a lot working with you all, so I appreciate the time that we all had together, and I just wanted to say thank you for everything that everybody on the SWAC does for solid waste in Thurston County. I really appreciate all your guys' hard work.
We're volunteers, right?
Well, I know, and that's what makes it even more special, I think, is that you're willing to give time to help out and to make this happen. So it's really great.
Thank you for that.
All right, with that, I'm going to share my screen. And I will be driving the slides for our team and for Corey for the MRC program. So I just needed to go to the next. There we go. So that's the team that you all know. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob for an update on the residential and multifamily programs.
Thanks, Scott. I'm Rob Pudner, recycling and waste reduction specialist, focusing on single family and multifamily residential outreach. So we will, a lot of this is a recap of if you attended the last presentation we did earlier this year, just an update on how those things are going. So Scott, next slide. Okay, so one of the exciting things that we have is the billing inserts that we distribute with our partnership with LeMay. So in each of the invoices that they send out to customers, we've been working with them to include a what we call Thurston Solid Waste News, which is an insert that goes out every other month to customers. So each customer, each month, half of the customers receive a copy of this insert, and then the following month, the rest of the customers get a copy. So that equals about 38,000 households that receive a print copy. Additional customers receive a digital copy. I don't actually have those numbers, but in total, it's over 38,000 households. And what's exciting is we've been including QR codes in a lot of the little articles that we have in the newsletter, so we can actually see how many people are using this and how it translates to some sort of an action. And what we've seen, this graph that is in the lower left side of the screen, is the number of searches that we've seen by month in the Where Do I Take My online search tool. So we started doing our billing inserts again in February of 2023 on the left side of the screen, and you can see how it has steadily increased through July of 2024. We started at roughly 2,000 searches per month, and now we're over 7,000 searches per month. So people are really finding the tool and they're using it. So we're seeing that correlation with the distribution of this billing insert. We've also seen an increase in registrations for our presentations that we've partnered with LeMay on. These inserts get distributed during the first week of each month, and that happens to be when we see an increase in phone calls and emails from people who are requesting to register for our presentations. So we are seeing that direct connection between billing inserts and our other outreach activities. Next slide. We recapped our Earth Day compost event during this June SWAC meeting, I believe. But once again, we had an event where we gave out 20 cubic yards of compost through our partnership with Brady Trucking. They're the ones who actually donated the material. We organized the event that was at the Hawks Prairie Park and Ride adjacent to the work. And we had over 60 customers who came out despite the rainy weather. And we are planning to host this event again in 2025. Next slide. Every other month, we've been hosting, in partnership with LeMay at Pacific Disposal, a presentation on a different topic. So we've done one so far in February on the business organics law. April was a participant-driven presentation on Can This Be Recycled, where people really were able to ask questions about specific materials and whether or not they can be recycled, or how can they best manage those materials. We did one in June about hosting low waste events, and we just finished up our August presentation on hard to recycle materials, another largely participant-led or driven presentation on things that aren't traditionally recyclable, but we often receive questions about. So we have 3 more presentations, and one of them, the one in November, is actually a bonus presentation that's a result of a lot of a lot of interest in the participant-driven style presentations that we've been doing. So unfortunately, we've had to cap the presentations, the registration at 30, just for that's the capacity of the room that we're presenting in. And so we've had to limit how many people can attend. And so due to demand, we've added another presentation to hopefully get some of those folks who were unable to attend previous presentations. And that'll be November 13th in celebration of America Recycles Day. That one will also be in the evening. Our other presentations have been from 1 to 1:45 or 2 p.m. in the afternoon. We're changing it up for this one. And then we'll finish out the year in December with a presentation on activities for youth. Next slide. Okay, this slide may look familiar. This is from last year's multifamily outreach. So for the past year and a half, we've been studying contamination in the mixed recycling at select multifamily properties. So 5 different sites, we've been lifting lids and partnering with the Master Recycler Composter Volunteer Program to really identify what kinds of contamination we're seeing in the bins. So the total contamination percentage, and then the top categories of contamination. One of the tools that we were testing last year to see if we could improve this contamination rate was that sticker that you see there. That goes on the top of the cart. And we did see an increase in quality of recycling, so a reduction in contamination, but we still did see quite a bit of contamination. And the top contaminant that we found was materials inside of bags, whether that's plastic bags or paper bags. Stuff inside of bags was a big issue. So that became the focus of our 2024 outreach. So you can go to the next slide. In order to address the bagged materials, we continued studying the same 5 sites. We've been collecting baseline data from February through last month. And now we just finished distributing our new tools that we'll be testing. And then we'll continue to collect follow-up data through November. So this year, what we've distributed to about 350 multifamily residential units is that bag that's featured there in that postcard. It's a reusable in-unit tote bag that's designed to be available for residents to collect their recyclables in their home. And then they can use that bag to carry their recyclables out to the waste enclosure, empty it, and then bring it back inside. The bag itself has the current list of accepted materials for recycling on it. It has a list of common contaminants at the bottom. You can see the little circle with the red line through it. Those are things that we're really trying to focus on keeping out of the recycling, like plastic bags, pizza boxes, clamshells, stuff like that. It's got instructions on how to use it, resources for where to find more information if they're still confused or not understanding what to do. They can access where do I take my, there's a QR code on there, phone number, email address, lots of ways that they can get more assistance if needed. And then you can see our wonderful Hope Springer modeling how to use the system, along with the other big resource, which is signage for waste enclosures. So we had these signs made that look very similar to the recycling guide and the stickers that are on the carts that we worked with LeMay to install last year. Those are available now for properties to show residents at the enclosure what can be recycled. So it may not help the first time that they are out there and they see that, oh, maybe they didn't know pizza boxes were not accepted, but then the next time they'll go out there and hopefully they'll sort things differently. We've also included in a little bundle with these bags is a special recycling guide brochure. So it's a trifold brochure that has a perforated recycling guide that can be removed from that brochure, along with a clip that has the where do I take my web address on it, and they can stick that on their refrigerator or somewhere convenient where they can be reminded of what can be recycled and how they can find out about things that are not included on the list. And we did all of this, and we're still doing this, with the assistance from Master Recycler Composter volunteers. They've been a huge help. Okay, next slide. Christmas tree recycling. We do this every year. Last year, we saw about 121,892 pounds of trees diverted in Thurston County. We're planning to continue to do this again for the 2024-2025 season. Next slide. Bicycle donation. So we are still working on planning a pilot program at the Waste and Recovery Center to have a donation station for complete bicycles that can be refurbished and reused through partnerships with Intercity Transit and Bikes for Kids. We plan on it being similar to other programs that are in City of Tacoma at their transfer station, as well as Seattle Public Utilities at both the north and south transfer stations in Seattle. This details have not yet been worked out, but we are getting closer to planning that pilot program. Okay, next slide. Talking Trash video series. We are getting closer to starting that series again. And Hope and Scott and I just met yesterday to work out some of the details. So that's something you can look forward to. We haven't yet gotten it all figured out. We're waiting on some more resources from county communication staff, but that is something that you can expect to see later this fall. Short content. We'll be, for those of you who are not familiar with the Talking Trash video series, we'll be answering questions that the public contacts us with, basically just addressing different material types and letting folks know if something can be recycled, if it can't be recycled, or if there's a drop-off opportunity that's not part of the traditional curbside program. Next slide. And the last thing I have for you is our Fix It Fair. So we are partnering with the Lacey Makerspace, and we have our first Fix It Fair, which is a free community repair event scheduled for Wednesday, November 20th from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Makerspace, which is located at St. Martin's University. Right now, we're not really advertising it to get people to come, but we're in the beginning stages of recruiting volunteers. So we have a web page for this that has a form so people can register as a volunteer. It is almost live. We're working on figuring out some bugs at the moment, but that will be live as soon as we can get that figured out, and folks can start signing up to volunteer as a fixer. So the services we can offer at the event entirely depend on who we can recruit as a fixer and the skills that they bring with them. So if you know folks who like to fix things, who like to tinker, and they want to help out, send them our way. We'd love to meet them. Okay, and next slide, and I think it's on to the commercial program.
Any questions for Rob before we move on? That was a great presentation. Thank you for that, by the way.
You're welcome.
Hey, this is Greg. I just wanted to make one comment. I love the bike. I mean, all of what you're doing is great, but the bike thing is really cool. And I don't know if you know, but Waste Connections has a very large bike program they do during the holiday seasons. And they build, I mean, thousands, if not tens of thousands of bikes for kids across the country. And there might be some synergies there with them and your efforts with the bike program. Maybe you could talk to somebody with LeMay or somebody with Waste Connections, and they could fill you in on that stuff. Just wanted to point that out.
Okay. Yeah, we'll check with them about that.
Thanks for that, Greg. Anything else before we move forward? Okay, Scott, I think we're back to you.
Yeah, we're just going to turn it over to Maggie so she can give you a quick update on the work she's been doing since she got here on the commercial program.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Rob. So I'm Maggie Brown, and I started with Thurston County back in May as a recycle and waste reduction specialist focused on commercial. And so First, I'm excited to share about our business waste assessments and support and what we are offering. And we're currently rebuilding and expanding what we have. And that includes virtual meetings, on-site walkthroughs, strengthening our relationships with partner haulers, as well as training opportunities. We've already had requests and want to make this more efficient. And event support as well. And further, we are expanding the resources and tools, and those relate to best management practices for specific business types and signage. More signage will be created for specific business types. So next slide, please. The business resources webpage, we have been updating the information. We added an expanded polystyrene ban page as that came along in January on 1. And we are continuing to make all of these pages more user-friendly and more intuitive, and doing that through format standardization and using heat mapping. This has been fun to start looking at, seeing how folks are kind of interacting with our content, and we'll continue to do that as we adjust these pages. We are also going to be expanding our on-demand and printable resources we have available, which is exciting. Next slide. The organics management law, we are planning our fall 2024 outreach as we look to the January 1, 2025 and 2026 requirements that will be in place for all businesses within Thurston County. And we are communicating with environmental health, Department of Ecology, and working with our hauler partners on that. We are refining our messaging strategy, and so we will be using print, digital, and social media information sharing, and also communicating with businesses that are currently diverting material through organics collection and understanding what a successful program looks like in order to develop best management practices that we can share outwards, and then that will be followed with resource development. Next slide. So low waste events, and through the lens of the commercial program, really working with larger entities, vendors, and venues. So we're expanding what we have available, talking about the laws, working with the hauler partners as they have a direct relationship with the material being generated. And as Rob mentioned earlier, community presentations, just really letting folks know what we have available and are continuing to build upon. Next slide. That's all for me.
Thank you. Any questions for Maggie before we move forward? I don't see any hands, so I think we're ready.
All right, April, take it away.
Hi, my name's April Rowe, and I'm the Recycling and Waste Reduction Specialist focused on youth education. All right, Scott, next slide, please. So we have this really cool existing reduce, reuse, recycle patch program that Thurston County has been encouraging youth to participate in. So scouts or youth groups, really any youth group in Thurston County, can do certain actions that are in this booklet that we give them. And then if they do those things, they can earn this patch. So again, this was created years ago, so I'm working on refreshing the existing patch program and putting that into some new formatting that looks like it was made in 2024. I'm doing that in partnership with Scouting America, who was formerly Boy Scouts. So again, this program won't just be for Scouting America Scouts, but for anyone. They already have hundreds of interested youth that they're happy to push it onto. So that sounds great to me. And then the other thing that we're doing with Scouting America is I'm working with the amazing Maggie to go to their facility, and we're looking at their infrastructure because they are a camp where they have thousands of kids coming and they currently don't have the infrastructure in place to recycle or compost on site. So we are working on helping them get that infrastructure and then create some really great youth programming to go along with that. All right, next slide, Scott. Also, yay, first day back at school for a lot of kids today. Waited for like 3 buses on the way in, so celebrating that. Working on making 4th and 5th grade curriculum for students. And for those of you that aren't aware, in the nitty-gritty of how curriculum creation works, as there are science standards that are really important in Washington State. And this is where our goals as solid waste best align with school goals or for 4th and 5th grade. So working on new curriculum creation and partnership with school districts to make sure that everyone's happy with what's getting pushed out and that the content is fun and relevant for youth. We're also reviewing the possibility of career and technical education for high school students during the summer. A lot of those programs look like credit retrieval for students. So we're hopefully going to help kids graduate while showing them that they could have these really awesome careers in solid waste and public works. And they can have a really awesome career in the best county of all, Thurston County. All right, next slide. We also are doing our Trash Talk newsletter. So in spring of 2024, before my time here, Rob helped get out 5,000 copies to about 160 classrooms throughout the county. We're continuing on with this, and our next edition should be in classrooms in October. We're continuing support for the compost program at Pleasant Glade Elementary, which is in North Thurston Public Schools. So we're looking at how do we expand compost programming throughout all the districts in Thurston County, because they're also going to legally be required to compost. So working with Maggie on that as well. All right, next slide. And that is the end of my part. Thank you.
Thanks, April. Any questions for April before we move on?
Actually,
I just really have to say, I love what you're doing with kids because they take that stuff home. Really important. And did I hear someone speaking up?
Yes, that's me, Tony Basinger. I mean, I really do have lots of questions, but I will wait until after this presentation. But the only one that I have right now is, you said legally required compost. Are you talking about like districts specifically?
So actually I'm gonna hand this to Maggie. So they are within the next 2 years going to be required, but it's more than just schools, but all the districts are gonna be required to do it. We have information for you, Tony.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can share more. Really, it relates to the organics management law, and so all businesses and schools are included in that. And it is a tiered approach, so it depends on how much organic material is generated for when they'll be required. But I have to talk more about that.
Awesome, thank you.
Great question.
Thanks for that, Tony, and welcome. Any other questions for April before we move on? Scott, who's up next?
Hope is up next, and she's gonna let you guys know what she's been working on in terms of program support and then some other support for Amanda and Jeff as well.
Great, thank you. Hope.
Hi everyone, I'm Hope Springer and I'm a recycling and waste reduction specialist as well. And I get the fun job of supporting Rob and April and Maggie. So I get to be Jill of all trades and try out different hats, which is super fun. I've been here for about 10 months now, so it's been awesome to kind of get some work done since the last update I gave you all. Next slide, Scott. So one of the biggest things I've been doing the last few months is outreach, being out in the community. I love chatting with people and seeing how we can provide recycling education, get their questions answered. So since the last update in March, we've attended 8 outreach events. And we've had a really strong relationship with our master recycler composter volunteers. So in that picture, there's me with 2 volunteers at an Earth Day fair in April. And they are a great help when we need some extra support. So we have our trivia wheel there too on the table that you can see, and we hand out reusable straw kits as a trivia prize for people who participate. So really trying to hone in on that waste reduction message. And we also provide craft opportunity often for younger folks who want a hands-on activity at the table. So we have a button maker that has our Recyclosaurus dinosaur on it, as well as tote bag stamping that April and I are working on the kinks out on, but we have a Recyclosaurus stamp as well. And then we also hand out recycling guides and answer any "can this be recycled" questions, because people are always asking, where does stuff go? And we're happy to help them kind of figure out the avenues for that. And then we have 5 more events to attend in 2024. So that's exciting because there's only a few months left, right? So we have a couple more coming up. And it's been awesome having April and Maggie on board too, because we're able to kind of expand our outreach. Next slide. I've also been working on our social media presence a lot. So I update our Facebook and our Twitter, which is X now, with monthly content for each of our programs. So residential, youth, and commercial, and then any updates that the Waste and Recovery Center operations teams need me to get out. So whether that's, about wait times at the work or closed for a holiday, any information like that, I help get that out as well. And then I work with partners for special content. So the past couple months I've been working with Laura on SWAC recruitment outreach. So that's a sample on the right of the SWAC recruitment photo or poster, I guess, that I put together. And then I work a lot with the Master Recycler composters to promote their workshop events, and then local sustainability things that are going on in the community as well. And then things that we've found do really well on our social media are waste reduction and recycling tips. People get really fired up in the comments when they find out stuff can't go in the recycling. So those are always good because we know that people are learning and paying attention. And then event and presentation reminders, as well as work updates about the operation side. So those all do very well for engagement. Next slide. And then one other thing I've taken on is our Borrow a Bin program. So as of 2024, we've loaned out 50 recycling bins and 28 garbage bins to community members. We had a pretty big influx over the 4th of July holiday. A lot of people having barbecues and family reunions, get-togethers. So that was pretty awesome to see that people were asking for bins. We actually also had a woman who picked up bins for her 90th birthday party. So if a 90-year-old can come pick up bins to celebrate her birthday, that's pretty awesome. We hope that we can kind of get this out to more of the community. We also recently added the city of Tumwater as a partner and pickup site. So just for a little context, we have a few pickup sites throughout the county. City of Lacey is one, and Rainier. So it just depends so that residents don't necessarily have to come to Public Works to pick up bins. They can go to other places throughout the county as well. So we added City of Tumwater to make that a little bit easier. And then just some goals moving forward. We want to streamline our online form to request bins, and also compile an annual report with borrow data from all of our partner jurisdictions, because right now we only really get the data for our bins that we loan out. And then we've talked about the potential to reintroduce food and yard waste bins for loaning out. So that's kind of a big conversation, but hoping to talk about that because I know there's definitely a want for it from the community to add that to our recycling and garbage offerings. I think that's it, but next slide. Let me see. Okay, yeah. That was all for me.
Thanks, Hope. Joan, you have a question or a comment?
I do. I'm really excited to see all this, as I'm sure you are too. These programs are wonderful. And this last one on the tabling that you're doing on where it says Thurston County, I don't see anywhere where it says recycling. Does it say it on the other side of your booth? Just says solid waste.
Yeah. Scott, do you mind clicking back to the photo of us at an outreach event?
Looks like you're having a good time.
It's a great time. Yeah, so our tablecloth just says solid waste division.
Yeah, and so I'm wondering if people go, I personally wouldn't, if I was looking for information about recycling or maybe even composting, I wouldn't know that that's what, solid waste does. And so I was wondering if you would capture more people, if it said somewhere on there that it was recycling or something about recycling or composting, because that seems to catch people's eye. Just a comment, not a criticism, just a comment.
No, we appreciate it.
Actually, just to like kind of piggyback off that, it kind of got some ideas for me. Maybe not necessarily on the tablecloth, but you could do like a table stand, and you could even make it more fun. It looks like you guys are having fun. I love the wheel idea. It gets people engaged, and so you could do like maybe like a picography. I don't know what it's called, but you know what I'm trying to say, hopefully. But no, that's a really great idea.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thank-
John.
Yeah, thanks. Joan.
Keep up the good work. It's good work.
Yeah, really fun presentations. Thanks for bringing your team, Scott, and we're going to miss you.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate it. And yep, they're all working very hard. And I know they'll keep doing great work.
Yeah.
And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Corey so she can give you all an update on the Master Recycler Composter program.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. So I did want to start off just to kind of clarify for those that are maybe a little bit confused about why the Master Recycler composters aren't with solid waste within the physical structure of it. So that might help clarify. So the Master Recycler Composter Volunteer Program is a county-based program, and we support the all the offerings of the solid waste educators and the staff there. So the other half of our job is the Master Gardener Program, which is WSU Extension, and so that's why Jenny and I are actually housed in the WSU Extension office. But that being said, when we're out there in the community, we have outreach events that are Master Recycler Composter, or we have ones that are Master Gardener. But Jenny and I supervise all of the volunteers on behalf of both programs. So for today's presentation, I'm just going to focus on the Master Recycler Composter side. But I wanted to clarify that because there were some questions before about why are we not in with the rest of the solid waste educating staff. So on that note, next slide. So on behalf of us, our goal, when Jenny and I, we train a new group of volunteers each fall, which will be a slide coming up about that. But the rest of the year, the volunteer crew that is out there, they are monitoring, doing lots of different activities, but kind of in three major areas. One, we have a question answer hotline, which is basically anybody can email us questions, and our volunteers remotely log into our inbox, and they can answer clients' questions. So anybody from the community can ask a question and get a Master Recycler Composter volunteer to answer it for them. And so that's what they're doing as far as the online part. We also provide monthly composting workshops. In fact, this coming Saturday, we have our last in-person composting workshop for the month. And that will be at Closed Loop Park, our demonstration garden at the Waste and Recovery Center at 11 o'clock. So we'll have our last hands-on composting workshop this coming Saturday. Other than that, we also provide other types of community presentations on waste reduction, which involve this year a library series at the Tumwater Library. We had 5 months of different composting workshop topics, composting being one of them, as well as waste reduction. And also we have our demonstration garden workshops that we also do. So those are all kind of our monthly composting workshops where we do lots of different education outreach, whether it be actually these formalized presentations, but also all the other ones that our volunteers get in their everyday life. They're also being resources for the neighbor across the fence that has a composting question to their organizations that they may belong to. So that's another way of that they also communicate this information. The community events that we do in person, this is just a sampling of them. We have many, many each scheduled for each month, and we focus on making sure that we serve all areas of Thurston County. So this is just a few of the highlights. The other ones that we also are including is making sure that our events are also targeting our DEI target audiences as well, to make sure that we have exposure to lots of different populations within our Thurston County community. Next slide. So again, some of the other activities that we also provide, as we know with volunteers, you definitely need to engage them, provide them with good information that they can provide. So there's ongoing continuing education opportunities, but also there's just the processes of actually keeping volunteers, making sure that they're up to date with all of their requirements to stay active within the program. And so we do this by a couple different methods, but one, we have a monthly cafe, which basically we meet in person and we review in-person questions that they might have. I do updates. And then there's also bi-monthly communication that we also send out to them that also helps provide information and resources to them when we're not meeting actually in person for the rest of that month. We also provide Zoom check-ins. That's another option for them to connect in and ask questions and for me to give any support that they need when they're doing their volunteer service activities. It also provides them with other updates about what volunteer requirements may be upcoming. One of them is reporting their volunteer service hours that have to be done on a quarterly basis to meet L&I requirements. We also have our 3 public demonstration gardens. We have just about 5 acres of land throughout Thurston County where we have these demonstration gardens, and that's where the work parties are held, but also the composting workshops are held there. And overall, our goal with the volunteer program is to be a support or extend our reach further of what the solid waste educators are doing. So the programs and the topics that they are sharing, our goal as the Master Recycler Composter volunteer is just to extend that reach out further into the community with those messages. And so at each of our outreach events, we do provide our, yes, composting and waste reduction ones. There was a question from David earlier about whether or not we're addressing moderate risk waste and also household hazardous waste. And yes, those we do have that information available when we're out in the community doing these outreach events. For example, rack cards from for the Hazo House, things like that, so that if they need further resources, we can either connect them with this information there at the booth, or if not, redirect them back to solid waste educators who might be able to help them further. Next slide. We do have our training, as I just said, we just closed our application period on September 1st here. And so right now we're working on the background check process of our volunteers, which is a requirement to participate in the program. Just because we do serve youth and vulnerable adults. And so we need to make sure that everybody is background checked for that to happen. And so right now our classes will start on September 19th, and solid waste educators and myself and Jenny will be presenting that along with some of our community partners during this training that will run from September through November 14th. Next slide. So upcoming events that are happening for the rest of our training or the rest of the year here, we've got our monthly composting workshops. We still have some more community events. And we also have our ongoing work with our community kitchen help. One of the feedback we actually got from last night's cafe, which we met, was talking about that the community kitchen in Olympia has focused really on preparing for the waste reduction of food. And so they have changed their signage to just focus on food only going into certain of their collection bins, and that contamination rates have gone down dramatically when they just focused on food going into these bins and not some of the other organic materials. And so that was actually a good feedback to hear last night from last night's presentation. And then the last one, we still have our food cupboards that are still being used, and we are asking for some additional MRC help in order to help monitor the food volume that is used at these food cupboards that are in Tumwater. And the last thing I'll say about our demonstration garden, we have a couple worm composting and yard waste composting workshops coming up, but also at these gardens, there are also demonstration spaces. And so this last few months, we've actually installed new irrigation systems at our Dirtworks garden and nursery. And these systems were installed 30 years ago and needed some upgrades. And so they are also demonstrating best practices. And so this is an opportunity for us to actually walk the talk and make sure that we're mindful of our resources and consumption. And so, you know, one of the R's is to reduce. And so we're reducing our water costs now from that as well. So on that note, I will end with my slides. I think that's it for me.
All right, thanks, Corey. Man, there's so much going on. That's great. Are we ready to move on to environmental health education? I'm not seeing any hands for questions or comments to Corey. So let's go to our next presentation from environmental health. Jennifer, I think you're up. Is Jennifer still with us?
Don't see.
She's at the top.
Oh, there she is. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
No, we
Okay.
can't.
Okay,
Yeah.
super. Sorry, my audio is being weird. Okay, I'm just in the process of getting my screen shared. Give me one moment.
Okay. I have to say, this is a fun day of hearing what everybody's up to.
And now I can't.
It's kind of exciting.
Okay, I'm sorry. My screen sharing is being annoying. Okay, let me. Okay, are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you. So I'm Jennifer Johnson. I work with Thurston County Public Health and Social Services, and I work in the Environmental Health Division. And I am going to provide an update of the great education that we've been doing here in environmental health. So just as a reminder, our goal is to implement the household and public education portion of the Thurston County Hazardous Waste Management Plan. And we do that through our Healthy Home and Yard presentations and workshops. We do a lot of outreach at fairs and events. We have some really specific workshops and partnerships for healthy homes and housing, and I'm happy to talk about that a little bit more. And then we have a lot of information we provide directly at the point of sale of pesticides specifically. And of course, those pesticide retailers are also selling the cleaning products, paint, solvents, all of those things. And we will be relaunching our Healthy Child Cares program now that we have a new educator. Jessica Goulet will be taking that on. So very excited about that. So here were our objectives. We just provided this information earlier this year, and I have to say that we have been really meeting all of our objectives and even going beyond. I'll give you some numbers here. So we have provided just thus far 11 workshops and 5 events. We've had 206 participants, and 115 of those participants pledged to make some changes to their home and yard care practices. I have a pledge here featured, and this just gives you an idea of the sorts of things that people are committing to. And then we know that the commitments that they make, a lot of that is proper storage of household materials, as well as proper disposal of household materials. A lot of our outreach is designed to reduce the amount of household hazardous materials that people are having in their homes by providing them tools and resources for making healthier choices when it comes to their cleaning products and their yard care products. The pesticide-free signs, those are the cute little ladybug signs that folks who attend our gardening and yard care workshops, if they make a pledge such as this, they can receive one of those pesticide-free signs. If they make a pledge and we are doing a Healthy Homes specific workshop, we do provide them a safer cleaning kit that is made up of vinegar, baking soda, Castile soap, some heavy duty scrub brushes to clean mold if necessary, and then of course a lot of take-home information. This is just a smattering of the information that we provide in the locations where you can purchase pesticides. So we do have these common sense gardening guides and our integrated pest management prescriptions available at, as I said at the beginning, just about every place where you can purchase pesticides in Thurston County, and that's our goal. So we have them at box stores, nurseries. We also have them throughout the community in places like libraries, over here at the atrium, etc. And just to touch on Mr. Nightingale's concerns about the siloing of our education materials, we always provide solid waste education when we do both these point of purchase events as well as the workshops that we do. So, and I know solid waste is always providing our information too. So we try to coordinate as much as possible as educators, always trying to provide the best service to our community. We also have a newsletter, Thurston Home and Garden. I encourage all of you to sign up for. So far, we've had 3 editions this year. We put those out every other month, and we will be sending out our next one at the beginning of October. And right now we have about 850 residents that have signed up and received this information. We typically, any of you who have worked with Constant Contact know that typically the amount of subscriptions that you have don't always, of course, reflect the amount of people reading your materials, but we have upwards of 60% open rate, which means that about 600 people are opening and actually engaging with the information that we sent out. So here is our contact information, including a general information line that we have for the community. The questions that we get are typically things about technical assistance in terms of how to improve indoor air quality, whether that's through ventilation or cleaning up mold. We also get a fair number of requests every year for information on yard care, pesticide reduction, also safe storage of materials and that kind of thing. And so now I'm going to provide some information on the solid waste enforcement portion of environmental health. Kim, who leads that program, is not here today, so I'll do my best to reflect the great work that they're doing over in solid waste enforcement. As you can imagine, they receive a lot of calls, and typically, I'm going to jump right to the next slide just because I want you to see the kind of site visits that they do. So the calls that they get are typically from neighbors who are complaining about what's happening on the neighboring properties, either their dump sites or there are multiple cars parked there, sometimes people living in them. And so our solid waste team does such a great job of trying to get out there, figure out what is the issue. Is it that this area is abandoned? Is it that someone has passed away? Is it just there's mental health issues oftentimes? But they work really hard with the residents and the local community to try to figure out how they can help these folks clean up. And so just to jump back to the previous slide, they have, reduced so much actual waste from these properties. And that was just the most recent data was from 2023. They're still compiling, of course, 2024. Kim had mentioned to me that it looks like they will probably increase these numbers pretty significantly. The solid waste enforcement side of environmental health, they help maintain these used oil collection sites. And so there are lots and lots of these used oil collection sites throughout Thurston County. They provide information on where folks can take their used motor oil. I was fortunate enough to do some of the surveying that happened at Hazo House earlier this year. And a lot of people come to Hazo House simply to safely dispose of used motor oil, which is a great resource because people can do it for free. And of course, it keeps that oil out of people's driveways, out of whatever method they may have used. And they have a robust team over there at the Solid and Hazardous Waste Program. And here is their contact information. They also provide a hotline and receive a lot of calls from the community about where to dispose of things, in addition to those complaints that I mentioned earlier. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Jennifer. Are there any questions or comments for Jennifer? That was a very thorough presentation too. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Jim Hutchison, are you still with us? Jim or Steve?
I am still here, just moving over
Okay.
to my video. And
Nice to
then
see you, Jim.
nice to see you as well. Long time no see.
It's been a minute. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you. First of all, let me make sure that I am sharing the appropriate screen. Can you see my slide there?
We can.
Okay, great. Well, first, let me kind of level set for the committee kind of what Republic Services is and what we do. For those of you who do not know me, I'm the Director of Municipal Services. So I work with Steve Gilmore and his 13 other counterparts throughout our 10-state area in the Midwest. And we work with all of our partners on various aspects. Now, you may think of Republic Services as your disposal partner, and we have been doing that for some time, but we also have a lot of stuff that we do on the sustainability side. And so it's great that we have the opportunity to talk to you about some of the sustainability initiatives. And as I mentioned, as a refresher, for all the recycled material that go to your drop box or convenience sites and the materials that go to the wharf, they go to Republic's facility up in the Seattle, Washington area. So what I'm going to talk about is some innovative things that are going on with the materials that we collect from those locations. And your team members before have been talking about all the great stuff you guys have been doing on the curbside stuff. So this is the stuff that's coming out of the transfer station, just to make sure everybody's kind of on the same page with that. So just to give you then a sense, like I said, we are aligning our action committee goals with yours, so our sustainability goals with a lot of the climate action goals that we are seeing coming out of our communities. And right now we're doing a lot of presentations on fleet electrification, use of landfill gas to energy, plastic circularity, which is what I'm going to be talking about today, and on organics. So a lot of your team is doing a lot of the similar stuff that we're doing, but I knew you guys were interested in plastic circularity today. So why does this matter to Republic? Because similar to Thurston, we have a number of sustainability goals that we've set for ourselves for an implementation date of 2030. Now, as you can see from this, I'm going to talk a lot about, the climate leadership program that we do. But when Republic talks about sustainability, we talk a little bit more broadly. We talk about a number of pillars where we talk about safety, talent, climate leadership, and the communities we work in. We believe those are kind of the 4 pillars you need to really have a robust sustainability program. And very specifically under climate leadership, we have 3 goals that we've set ourselves to be accomplished by 2030. And I'm really happy to say that we're kind of leading the edge on these 2030 goals and that we're meeting our targets and exceeding those. But this is a third party that keeps us consistent and keeps us honest about saying, hey, we're going to actually meet these goals. And so we've talked about, we are talking about reducing scope 1 and 2 greenhouse gases And we are also talking about, increasing our beneficial reuse of biogas that comes from our landfill by 50%. But specifically to the conversation we have today, we're talking about the increased circularity of recycled materials. And that is by 2030, we're expecting that we're going to increase by 40%. So the partnership that we have with Thurston County is critical to helping us receive or get to those goals, is that unless we can help you recycle more, then we're not going to make those goals. So it is a partnership that we have. So what are we doing with this? And this is specifically about plastics. And this is a demand side look at what's going on with plastics. It's very specifically. Lots of commodities that come to us from Thurston County through the system, but specifically today we wanted to talk about plastics. So to give everybody a sense, in North America, there's about 14 million tons of plastics that are generated per year that kind of go out into the system. Now, in that system, a lot of that flex packaging makes up, so those are the number 2s and the number 4s that everybody talks about. That flex packaging represents about 8 million of the 14 million. Well, when it gets down to it, only about 5% of that flex packaging is actually what we call downcycled. That means that material is taken and that it's actually made into things like rugs, park benches, or piping, which typically end up in the landfill after they're single use. So that's not a true recycle, circularity. It's just kind of a down cycle. And regrettably, about 95% of that material is incinerated or landfilled. Okay. On the other side of the coin, when we talk about the rigid packaging, and this is where a lot of the EPR questions start coming up, and why there's a lot of people who are down in Olympia, asking questions about, should we legislate things? The EPR kinds of things are trying to deal with things on a supply side, and we're talking about, well, wait a minute, why don't we turn it into a demand side? Because there's a lot of materials today that are already being collected that we have the ability to change some things on. And this represents about 6 million of that 14 million tons that I mentioned. Today, only about 5% of that is recovered and recycled. So we see there's a huge demand that's out there for saying, wait a minute, what if we start using that 6 million tons? We start actually addressing some of the demand that we're seeing from some of the people throughout the country. And those are the producers throughout the company. So what Republic has said is that they have said, we're going to build 4 facilities throughout the country to deal with this demand that we have, to try and get that 5% up to a much larger number. Well, the first of our facilities is the Las Vegas facility. And as of May, roughly June timeframe, the material that we take from the work and the material that we take from your collection sites, the recycled material gets sent to our Seattle processing facility. The plastics get pulled out of that, and that material gets sent to the Vegas facility, which broke ground in December of 23 and is fully December of 22 technically. Took about a year to build that, and then we have it operationally early 24. And then the materials that we're taking out of the Seattle market right now are currently going to that facility as of May, June of this year. So what is that facility? Well, that facility takes the plastics. It's located in Vegas. It takes the plastics from, you can see the blue kind of map on the right-hand side, from all of Republic's facilities and partners that we have, kind of from the West Coast side, a little bit larger, because you kind of go from the Rockies or just over the Rockies west. And all the material we collect from there, we're sending into that polymer center to make sure that the materials are turned back into the same materials. I.e., when I say recycling a water bottle, I'm saying a water bottle gets turned into a water bottle. It doesn't get downcycled, and within a very short period of time, in fact, when you drop a water bottle into the system that we get within 90 days, we're basically saying that water bottle becomes another water bottle in some form or some fashion. And that's where the Polymer Center really comes in. We have a number of videos that I know we can talk about at a later date. We can answer questions about the Polymer Center. But some of our videos that are out there today really get in depth about, wait a minute, how does the Polymer Center work and what is it actually doing? Well, today what we've seen is a lot of on the demand side, like I said, we got a lot of producers that are demanding product that they say, we want to use recycled materials. In Washington State, Oregon State, California, there's mandates for certain percentage of the material that has to be recycled. Well, we're finding a lot of producers are actually, upping the game a little bit. And what they're doing is they're saying, no, we want material that is already meeting those standards. And so as you can see on the right-hand side, one of our biggest partners right now is Coca-Cola, which is saying, we want 50% of the material we come in, or we want the content coming in that 50% of the material is actually recycled rather than virgin or new material. So those kind of numbers that you see where the 50% requirements and the companies that are coming on board, this is all the great opportunities that we have. Because what the Polymer Center does is it takes the bales of material that we create. So we take the material from the work, from the convenience centers, we take them to the processing facility in Seattle. They then get shipped to Vegas, where that ends up being turned into flakes. So they take the ones and twos, they turn it into a flake, the colors separate that flake, and then they make that available to a producer. A second phase of this is what we call the blue polymers. The blue polymers, which are going to be co-located with all of those polymer centers, they then take that flake and actually turn it into a material that has the certain percentage of recycled material that each of these producers want. So when Coke says 50%, what they do is they take 50% of the new material, 50% of the flakes that we provide them. They create the resin that's created into the water bottles, and then they sell that to the producers in the end. So that's how kind of the Polymer Center and the blue polymers work in tangent. The Polymer Center sorts, separates, puts it into color, and then the blue polymer, actually takes the material and actually meshes it together into the resin that's necessary for these partners. The beauty of this is that this is happening on the demand side. We're seeing the producers come up and they're saying, we're going to do this. This is outside of EPR. This is not EPR requirements that they're doing this. This is above and beyond that. That's why when Republic gets asked a lot of questions about EPR, we consistently say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because Washington State actually has a very good recycling program. You've just been hearing a lot of the good things with your team members talking about the recycle programs that they have, where a lot of these materials are going into the recycling facilities. Now, not all the facilities have access to the Polymer Center and blue polymers. Totally agree with that. But the nice part about it is what we see in the plastics environment, it's not necessarily a recycling problem as much as it's a litter problem. We have the technology that's there. The Polymer Centers are the first in the country, and we're building them. As I mentioned earlier, we've done one facility. We've broken ground on the second, and the third and fourth are expected to operate or break ground in 25 and 26. So nationally, this will be something that's available to us. When we add all these things together and we talk about the curbside collection or the collection, you have the work, you talk about the processing, that we have the recycling centers or the MRF, and you get the baled plastics that you have at the Polymer Center, and then the blue polymers, which takes those chips, washes them, mixes them together with the other types of resins, and then you end up with a Coke bottle that's a Coke bottle, right? Then you're truly talking about circularity. So we're really excited about these opportunities that we have with the Polymer Center and the blue polymers. And so we're talking to all of our partners, and we're expressing our appreciation for that partnership and trying to make sure that people understand that, we're not just on the disposal side. We really want to be part of your critical development on the sustainability side as well. And we take that partnership seriously, and we're investing to make sure that that happens appropriately. As I said, the rest of this slideshow goes into a lot of the other things which I can answer questions on, but I didn't intentionally want to talk about. We at Republic, we're obviously rolling out EV trucks throughout the country that we have. We have the first city that has decided to go with an all EV truck in Colorado. So it's Louisville, Colorado. They decided to be the first to implement EV trucks. And so we're rolling them out through the company. Also, as I mentioned, we do a lot of landfill gas energy products, and we also do a lot of the gap analysis of where we're trying to get in alignment with our municipalities and their sustainability programs. I can talk more about that, but that wasn't the intent of the program today. And so I just wanted to open it up for any questions we have about the Polymer Center or the Blue Polymer Center or any other initiatives that Republic is working on.
Thanks, Jim. The technology of circularity is really interesting. So thanks for that update. Do we have any questions or comments for Jim? We don't get him with us here that often, so now's your opportunity. I'm not seeing any hands.
I had a question.
Oh, yeah, Jennifer.
I feel like is probably one of those things that's a much bigger issue. And so, I don't expect to like put you on the spot and have you have something off the top of your head, but it's just something that I think about when I hear this information is, are you aware of or what do you know, what can you share about the health impacts of melting down all those plastics? And, you talked a lot about the circularity, and my understanding of plastics is the more that you use them, the more that the leachate comes into the materials. So in other words, like as the plastic breaks down, it provides more of the BPA or the parabens, the phthalates are emitted more readily into let's just use the Coca-Cola bottle as an example. So I'm just wondering if you're aware of that, and then what kind of protection is in place for that?
Well, and that's where the various stages of it with the blue polymer, like I said, you've got the stages where you're breaking down the materials at the polymer center. That's pretty straightforward. You're not breaking down the resin. You're not breaking down any type of that. We also have made sure that when you may have heard me mention when you've got the polymer centers that are co-located with the blue polymers, you got close proximity with those, right? The blue polymer is the ones that are really dealing with the issues that you're addressing there. And when they go through the washing and they go through the cleaning to make sure that they have an end product that is, I would argue, above consumer standards that they have. So we have not, when we've taught, and we're not alone in this, because obviously we're selling this product back, but when we get to that level, when you're mixing the virgin resin with the melted down and reused resin, that system pulls a lot of the things out that you're discussing. And we have to go through a significant level of safety checks to make sure that the true Coke bottle that's at the end is the same Coke bottle, has the same type of material. Leachate's probably the wrong term. I think you're probably thinking of something. Leachate's typically water that goes through a landfill.
Yeah, I think I misspoke. I misused that word. You're right. Thank you.
Yeah, but I think I know what you're talking about, which is, the materials that are breaking down and when you talk about the PFAS that might be included in there and other types of material from the breakdown. That's the blue polymer process that goes through and kind of sifts some of that stuff out. And without that extra step, I would have more concerns with what you're saying, but that extra step on the blue polymer is what takes care of that.
Thank you for answering my question.
Oh, one more question from Jessica.
Hello. I don't know if this is quite related to the work that I will be doing, but since you don't come here often, I am personally just curious. Do you guys do anything to offset the carbon you might be using to transport the recyclables from a city like Washington or Seattle all the way down to Las Vegas, or
Yeah, we do. I didn't address a lot of it, but you may have seen in the first, I referenced the climate leadership that we're talking about, which is the reduction in scope 1 and scope 2 emissions. I didn't talk about it in this case, right? But a lot of our vehicles, a lot of our, we use a lot of rail system like we do with the county to move and try and avoid rail system. But we're also looking at other things like EV trucks to offset. We're looking at the gas to energy facilities where we're taking gas from the landfills and using it as renewable natural gas and or using it as electricity. And then we're also moving that over to our fleet, where our fleet is moving over to more of an EV standard, and or a large portion of our fleet is renewable natural gas. So on each of those stages that I mentioned, that says, hey, how do you get it from here to here to here? We've taken that into consideration and talked about how do we not increase that footprint at the same time that we're trying to say we're decreasing it. So we do have a lot of conversation about how we're trying to remove some of those scope 1, scope 2 greenhouse gases to not only offset, but also reduce the amount of emissions that we have throughout our system.
And this also goes to what we're trying to do at the landfill as well. We just did an EV project at the landfill to actually use electric vehicles to actually go up and down the hill. That pilot project was actually very successful. So we're looking at potentially electrifying the entire operation at Roosevelt. So that's a direct benefit to Thurston County's emissions based on the fact that we're providing all of your disposal needs at the landfill.
And Steve has dropped a link to a video into our chat. I would encourage everybody to take a look at that.
Yeah. And Jessica, one step further on that too is, I mentioned earlier that we have Louisville, Colorado, which is the first city to decide to go all EV on their fleet. We also work with the local power company to make sure even the electricity that they use is offset. So we are actually buying, as part of that deal, the offsets because Colorado, unlike Washington, they have a much larger mix of natural gas and coal, regrettably. And so we're buying carbon offsets to make sure that the electricity that we're acquiring for those EV trucks are actually coming from renewable resources. So we're taking that added level to make sure that we're going above and beyond to once again make sure that we're actually reducing the scope 1, scope 2 emissions and not increasing them.
Awesome. Thank you for that explanation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Jim and Steve. And Jeff, you have some information about a potential future SWAC member, and then you are bringing us home today.
Okay, here we go. Yes, so as you know, we've had a vacancy. Richard Moon resigning this summer. So we've been, over the last number of months, have been out there promoting and advertising for basically a resident from any district besides District 2. Of course, in unincorporated Thurston County. We actually have received an application from from Lisa Harrison, unincorporated District number 1. I see she is actually on the call today. So
Right there.
So with the application, basically what, I was hoping you all had the opportunity to look it over. It was sent out. Looking for, if I know that Lisa is here available to answer any questions you might have, but ultimately to move this forward, we'd be looking for a recommendation, basically a motion from the SWAC recommending to the Board of County Commissioners for approval of this of her onto the board, if that is what you would like to do. So with that, I will leave it to you for your discussion.
Does anyone have questions of Lisa since she's here? I don't see any hands. We all got the application in our packet.
Very good.
And so not seeing any hands, I would entertain a motion to forward Lisa's application for SWAC membership to the Board of County Commissioners. Do we have a motion?
I so move.
Thank you. That
I
was,
would second it.
and we have a second from Elaine, I believe.
Yes.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, we will move Lisa's application forward to the Board of County Commissioners. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, everybody.
And we look forward to having you join us.
Thank you. Me too.
And thank you for attending today.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
very
that's great.
enjoyable.
Today was a great day for you to be here. Lots of information.
Yeah, and I read the materials in your email as well, which is great.
Yeah, good. Okay, Jeff.
Actually, that is it for me for today. So
Oh, good. We're ending right on time.
we're gonna end right on time. So that's my commitment to you all.
Does anybody have any announcements or just anything for the good of our little group?
I do have a tour coming up that's scheduled for any SWAC member to attend, and it will be on October 8th. I'll send you guys all the details.
Perfect.
And
Thank
that
you.
is of the Pioneer Murph.
Oh, Pioneer. Okay, fun. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you. And I think your real chair will be back next month.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.